The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent, including Olas Media.
Olas Media.
I am your host, Mr. Wowzer. We are the Dodi Connection. Today, we are going to be talking about some very, very deep topics that I feel is going to touch your soul, as well as recommend you to some great products from Cold Fire Extracts and True Classics, True OG. Trust me, it's going to hit you hard.
Wow.
Wagwan, how's everybody doing? Sending positivity, prosperity, peace, and protection to everybody's way. I am your host, Mr. Wowzer. We are the Dodi Connection. I have a very special guest, but before I introduce them, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Dodi, Cold Fire Extracts, and Marching Ash as well. We're going to go into the Cough Drop segment. This is a show based on an eccentric opinion today, talking about different subjects and different topics that are a wide array of things. Again, we do have a special guest that I'm very, very excited to interview for you guys. We're going to actually go through our segment Cough Drops, where we give you guys recommendations on cannabis, of course, the best products to use, and the effects that they give you. We'll be back after this.
Hey, yo, Ma, get to the bed.
For sure. Picking your brain while I open your soul. And by my side, you know I gotta keep the pole. You know I'm with it. And I heard that you about the business. You the type that wanna ride when I'm spinning. Alright, looks to me, transparency is what you're giving. Baby, you know I'm with it. Baby, I know you with it. You with it. Baby, you know I'm with it. I know you with it, you with it. All I want from you is for you to keep it real. Give me transparency no matter how you feel. Just like this blower on me, I'ma keep your secrets concealed. Like this blower on me, I'ma keep your secrets concealed. Baby, you know I'm with it.
Cough drops. I got some good products for you guys today, and I'm excited. The first one that I'm going to present is my favorite, one of my absolute top 3 favorites, Cali Biscotti. The product description is South Florida OG crossed with gelato, sweet and gassy aroma. Biscotti is a tasty combination of their flagship Girl Scout cookies, Gelato 25, and South Florida OG. A little bit about this strand. Biscotti is said to have a sweet and buttery aroma, translating it into a slightly bitter taste, reminiscent of coffee. Yeah, it got that gas though to it. So you get that little gas joint, makes you want to kiss the baby a little bit, okay? The THC and CBD percentage, THC specifically for me, is 36.43%. It's light on the CBD, which is why I didn't speak about it. It's just 0.16. But it does enough to give you a counterbalance to where you feel like you're smoking, I'd say 90s weed. You get the entourage effect. You really don't feel too high and too groggy. The top reported strand effects are relaxed, happy, and euphoric. And the top reported strand flavors are earthy, coffee, and sweet. You like Cali Biscotti? But I love Cali Biscotti. And I also got to give a shout out, of course, on this segment to our sponsor, Cold Fire Extracts. What up, dogs? Amazing. The taste is great. clean and pure. It's loud like flour. Super tasty, great effects, and long-lasting buzz. This is why Coldfire is currently my go-to vape. It scored a high 95 on the highestcritic.com. It is my standard of greatness in this category, and I wouldn't use anything else vape-wise but Coldfire extract. So go ahead and grab you a few of those. Matter of fact, grab you 3 or 4, and then put a little ink on the for your boy. Hello, yes, Lord. Okay. We're going to bring it into our guests. The reason why I'm so can't even get my words together because I'm excited for this episode. The reason why I'm so hyped up right now is because the guest that I'm bringing on before we do topics and solutions segment is somebody that I met in the most inconvenient way, wouldn't you say? I hopped on LeafWire and I seen somebody that was on there that's a close friend named Tiana Woodruff that we're going to do business with. And I'm like, let me try it out. It's like a Facebook for the cannabis industry or LinkedIn or Instagram. And she was the first person to reach out to me. Your automatic trigger when you get a message like she sent so sweet and so humble and giving is this might be a bot. So I played around with it to see if this is a bot. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was one of the sweetest people that I'm glad to meet on my journey and know. She has an amazing story that I can't wait for her to share with you guys. Special guest, Amy Donohue.
Yay!
I did say it right. Hello, Showtime.
Yes, you did say it right. Thank you. I knew you would.
Hello. How you doing today?
I wasn't worried about that.
How you doing today, Amy?
I'm so excited because we've been talking about this for like 3 weeks. So I'm at that apex of excited, a little anxiety. I'm pumped. I got the adrenaline going. I'll be crashing in an hour.
In an hour specifically, huh? No, that's good. Well, I do got some questions. I want to celebrate your story, and I can't wait to get to the most important part of our story. But first, I want to start with the basics to give all the listeners some context on you. So where did you grow up?
I grew up outside of Buffalo, New York. I am part of the Bills Mafia, so don't talk football around me because we're going to the Super Bowl this year.
Hello.
Tiny town. I mean, it was we had less than 200 people in my graduating class, so our high school was less than 1,000 people, so yeah. But I'm now in Phoenix. I've been in Phoenix for 21 years. Pretty much to get as far away from Buffalo as I can.
Wasn't feeling seen over there, huh?
It's a great place to be from. I could not live there anymore, that's for sure. I left right after high school.
Nice, nice. Was it more of a dream when you left to come to the West Coast or just something you always wanted to do?
The year before I graduated, my boyfriend at the time was visiting his best friend's mom up in Weed, California. So right after high school, I moved to Weed because we wanted to live in a town called Weed, not knowing that it was named after a guy named Abner Weed, who was a logger. He brought the logging industry. This was back in the spotted owl times, if anybody remembers that. This was the late 80s, early 90s when people were hanging out in trees to protect the spotted owl.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, I am definitely, I do have an East Coast attitude, but I feel like I fit in better on the West Coast because I am kind of a slacker as well. So it's just more laid back here, but don't mess with me.
Yeah, facts, right? You still got that East Coast. I'm
not going to try and say what you just said, but yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, sorry. I got black R2D2. Sometimes I beat bop and whoop bop. Hello.
I love it.
Nice, nice. Now, I just want to get to the meat of it now. Could you please put us in your shoes and walk us through the horrific incident that happened in 1988, Buffalo, New York, at the high school that you was attending?
Yeah, so like I said, my high school was very small. I'm from about 15 miles east of Buffalo, and February 16th, 1988 was my 17th birthday. Went to school like there was no tomorrow, and right after homeroom, went to our lockers to go to first period class, which for me was Spanish. I was the Spanish major. And a bomb blew up the locker right behind me, however wide a high school hallway is, 10 feet. The kid's name was Dave, and Dave was a bully, and Dave got his. One of the kids that he had been bullied, his name was Jeff, and he made a mercury switch pipe bomb and put it in Dave's locker in his sneaker, knowing that he had gym first period. My high school was very cliquey. I got along with everybody, but the cliques were awful, and the jocks, of course, were the biggest bullies in the school. And Dave, the kid with the bomb in his locker, was one of the biggest bullies that I remember. He was in my class, so I never got bullied by him, but the guys did. And it was a mercury switch pipe bomb, which means that as soon as body heat touches it, that's what detonates it. And so it was placed in the locker so that the sneaker opening was facing out. But when Dave opened his locker, his sneakers fell, and he saw something, touched it, and it blew into the wall, and then shrapnel came out, which was a good thing because his girlfriend, she was tiny, and if it had come out, she probably would have died. I know that he had lost a finger or two and had those reattached, but I just remember this bang, look down, blood, teacher pushing him down the hallway to the nurse's office, and then we're told, okay, everybody go to first period and stay there. Nothing else. Not one thing. Like, this is my 17th birthday now. Keep in mind, it's 1988. This did not exist. This did not exist. And it was a small town. Everybody had police scanners because everybody's husband or brother was in the fire department. So everybody had police scanners to know what was going on. And of course, this was broadcast as an emergency. And we were stuck there till, I remember we were let out to go down to lunch, but we had to go back up to class. And then we were let out like sometime in the afternoon, early release, but like 1:30. It wasn't super early. And I remember, I don't remember the rest of that day. Knowing what I know now, I know I was in shock. I had to have been. And I remember going to bed that night and my parents waking me up at about 11:15 during the evening news. And they're like, oh my God, it was Jeff. Jeff's family and my family were best friends growing up camping. And he had felt so terribly that he had a friend turn him in that day. So it wasn't any drama on, who did this or what. It was solved right away. Never saw him again. Dave came back. I don't know if he came back that school year because this was in February. I don't remember too much of that. But I do remember the hit of acid I was given about 2 months later. That is the reason that I'm still alive.
Nice. And I'm very sorry about that horrific experience, and I'm glad that you survived that unscathed.
Yeah, he was the only one really hurt. Well, I can't say that because this ear has never stopped ringing since that moment. But thankfully, people didn't get hurt. It was not a mass casualty event or a mass shooting or anything like that. I do question classmates when I go back home, like, how do you not have like after effects from this? Because I've been in cannabis for 12 years now, I knew what PTSD was because of veterans and never put it together that a girl could have PTSD her entire life and never gone to battle. That was some serious PTSD. And I remember I had years of drinking. I've been sober 20 years from alcohol. Some of my classmates still drink a lot. And I wonder if that is part of it. We all tell the story. We all remember it. Nobody did shit for us. I'm sorry I swore. But like the next day, there was no guidance counselor talking to people. I remember the next day someone dropping their books straight down onto the floor and it makes that huge crash. And I remember jumping. It was 24 hours after that bomb went off. Like I can still see that happening. Yeah. PTSD is real. We've all had trauma. It's not just for veterans.
Which is why I wanted to ask that, because I'm like, I know you get a mental frame of that, like you just explained right now, painting a picture for us, seeing the shoe, seeing how it was facing when it dropped. that's something that lives with you forever. And it's such a, because you think about, anyway, girl, look, don't get me started, okay?
We'll both be crying. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Now I gotta ask you this, and this is my own personal one. Is there anything that you feel that could have prevented this incident from happening with Dave and the kid that got bullied?
You know, it's bullying. Could it have been stopped? We're talking about the 80s. Nobody did shit for anybody. It was put some spit on it and get up and walk it off. But bullying existed, and I remember I had been punched in the face like earlier that year by an older girl. I didn't even know her. Like I said, there were a lot of cliques. But the bullying, everybody just brushed under the rug, and I honestly don't feel it's changed. I mean, we've been talking about bullying so much this past, like, maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
The Me Too movement helped that as well. But the only thing that could have prevented that was to have a great administration that was paying attention to what was going on in the school.
Message right there. Message. Because the way that they handled that, to me, and this is just my own opinion, was very poorly. It seemed like they didn't really want national news around that because it might, for a lot of numerous reasons we could think of when it comes to business and, the school system. But I feel like it got handled very poorly, and I feel like it got swept under the rug quicker than it happened.
Yeah, and it did get national press from Rolling Stone magazine. We were named one of the most violent schools in the country that year. Wow. I've tried to look online for it. I can't find it, and it could be something that somebody told me and may not be true. But to have that one incident in a cow town, like when I say cow town, there were more cows than people in that town, cornfields and cows everywhere. The meanest thing that happened was, high school fights. This was not a violent school, but there was a violent day at that school. And yeah, nobody did anything. I've thought about reaching out to the principal and saying, hey, I don't know if you knew about this incident. Can you keep shit together? But is anybody going to listen? They're just going to think I'm trying to sue them or something, you know?
Right, and they're going to shut the phone on that quick. Oh, sue?
Yeah.
No, you want to hear those words. Litigation.
I just want this to never happen to anybody else again, because I was a mess for a long time. I really was, but it's okay. It made me who I am today, that's for sure.
I agree. It made you not only a survivor, it made you able to speak about these subjects in such in a different way. Being a victim of bullying is dope to hear on my end. Somebody who actually survived an incident like that from somebody who wanted to commit that act because they were bullied. We'll get to that in our topics and solutions. We're going to dig in a lot more. So thank you for sharing that with us as well.
Yeah, I like sharing my story because maybe someone can relate.
Hello. Now, I've been wanting to crack your head about this one. Cannabis pen pals.
I just got a new one.
Girl, pat yourself on the back. It's something that I not only commend you for, it's something that I do want to get fully involved in, me and Dr. Leroy. Shout out to Dr. Leroy, Cannabis Enlightened. Hello. And
I love Dr. Leroy. Hi, Dr. Leroy.
Yeah, hello, girl. We was talking anyway. We'll get. But could you elaborate on Cannabis Pen Pals and the impact that Cannabis Pen Pals like yourself have made for the program,
Yeah. So it was right when the pandemic hit. I was looking for something to do. I donated a kidney, so during the pandemic, I was stuck home for 2 years by myself and had to be extra careful. Whatever, no big deal. I got new friends, and somehow I saw maybe something on Facebook or LinkedIn, and it was a group called Freedom Grow Forever. Very grassroots, all women, and they were helping cannabis prisoners to get pen pals. And I don't care. They're cannabis pen pals. They're cannabis prisoners. Most are nonviolent. I wasn't worried about any of that stuff. Like, oh, they're going to come and get you. it's in a gated little apartment complex. No one's coming to get me because I was nice enough to write them a letter and be their friend.
Right, and be supportive, right.
But the real reason was, and I don't know if people really thought about this, but during COVID, prisoners were on triple lockdown. Normally, prisoners are out in the yard, out in their little cell. They can go to email. They can go use the phones. Couldn't do that during COVID. No visitors, no phones, no computers. You're in your cell. And one of the guys I write to is Pedro Moreno. And I have to tell his story because he's serving life. And he went down in a case with brothers, a father-in-law, and his wife. He's the only one still in prison. And he's the nicest man. He's up in Northern California, somewhere north of Stockton, like in the Central Valley somewhere. The nicest man you would ever know. He has been keeping his cell block clean this entire time. He's always cleaning to keep everybody safe. He buys an extra ice cream at commissary for somebody else. And I was actually asked to and honored to write a clemency letter that is sitting on the president's desk right now for him. So,
wow, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, just knowing that I don't know if it's going to happen. I want to hope that it will. He's got a brand new grandchild he needs to meet. And then I just started writing to a guy here in Arizona, probably about your age, down in Tucson. I think he's got 15 years. And he went in with a little boy. And, you know, men and their fathers, it's a very important thing for men to be surrounded by men. And that's what drew me to his story. And, yeah, I should be getting a letter back from him. The first time is really hard because they don't know me. They're just getting some letter from some chick named Amy in Phoenix. Like, who's this bitch trying to be my friend while I'm in prison? That's all I want to do is just be a friend. I'm not looking for a husband or a boyfriend. I just feel that when we're done here, I'm going to be sparking up a fatty, and those guys paved the way for me to be able to do that.
You know what I mean?
So I feel like it's my duty. And I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm not a mom literally, but I'm very motherly to people. And if I can, with my, however long it takes them to read my letter, change their day for 15 minutes, that makes me happy. And then there's a couple that don't write letters. They like to email. So I'm on the Core Links, which is the correctional officer corrections email program. And the guy I write to mostly there is Jamaican descent in South Carolina prison for trafficking. Hopefully he will be out in a year or two. I give him a lot of business advice. He wants to get in the industry in New York, which I told him was definitely not going to happen because it's not happening for anybody in New York right now. But
New York, yeah.
Yeah, I tell them, you know, you have to have your shit together if you're going to want to get into this industry. You have to have a business plan. They're not going to just hand the prisoners and the social equity, which I'm all for. I am all for social equity, but they're not just going to hand you a license. You have to put in a lot of work. So any consulting I do for him, of course, is free, and just keeping him patient because he doesn't have a definite release date yet. I'm like, okay, just we got baby steps here. Yeah. Hold the phone.
Yeah,
and that's Leroy. And that's why I like Dr. Leroy, because they had the same name.
Yeah, and he's a blood clot Jamaican. You know, shout out to my, well, I'll go on now. But and your thoughts on the Last Prisoner Project? Which, do you know about the Last Prisoner Project?
I do, because during summer of 2020, a lot of online events were happening, and Last Prisoner Project had a lot of online pen pal events. We could just log in like we're doing now, smoke, write letters, you know, just be like session virtually and writing letters, which I think was awesome. A lot of people are afraid to write a letter. It's weird. You know, we're all texting and emailing all day. Write a letter? Yes, you're going to write a fucking letter. And so I think that they've evolved and more towards lobbying, which I like. I mean, we need to have the people who know all the corporate people, which is the Last Prisoner Project. I mean, whatever, they get a lot of money from MSOs and such. That's great. I am a grassroots person, though. I would rather boots on the ground. Give me a sign, I'll hold it up and protest. It's just a little more corporate than I am. So it's not a diss. Got to have different things for different people, you know?
But it makes sense.
But yeah, and right now they're giving exposure to another pen pal, Edward Rubis. He just celebrated 25 years.
I read that article.
bars.
It was on Ganjapreneur. Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah.
It was a letter to.
That was where I got it too.
Yeah, celebrating 420. Yeah, we tapped in. We tapped in.
Yeah.
Great way
Yeah.
you answered that. Now, I want to talk about the future of course, cannabis and psychedelics, mainly psychedelics. What do you see in the future for psychedelics?
One thing I miss about cannabis is the medical aspect of it. Even though we're all patients, I don't care if you're in California and buying from your guy next door, you're still a patient because that endocannabinoid system is what is helping you. Yeah. Psychedelics, I actually grow in a research lab for psilocybin for PTSD for veterans and first responders, which my father was as a fireman and EMT. Nice. So it's a study in Arizona. I like the medically forward way that it's starting. I do not like the states and cities and towns where it's legal, the access is expensive and it's very clinical. And I feel there's a place for that. But there's a place for everything else as well. Exactly. And it's very expensive. So I would like to see, you know, you want to be bougie and go and pay $3,000 for a mushroom trip, have at it. But there has to be a balance in accessibility. I mean, you see online all the time people complain about the prices of weed. But I do feel the amount of research, and we have all been through trauma. There's nobody on this planet that hasn't seen something traumatic. And it's got to be something that, even though we're still trying to work on the stigma of cannabis, the stigma of psychedelics is a little bit less, I'm finding, especially with men. They like mushrooms. Men love mushrooms. They'll stuff the whole thing in their faces. They don't care.
I've seen it myself. But nah, you answered that great. And I think this is going to be a great segue to go into our next topic, or next segment, which is topic and solutions, where we go through 3 topics or 4 and for the listeners, and also give them solutions after we get the statistics on it. And I would love for you to weigh in on it with us if you would like that. Are you okay with
Hell
that?
yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you done made me so happy. I think you're going to like this one because we just talked about it. The horrible truth about bullying. The statistic is school officials have estimated that 3.2 million students report being bullied in school each year. Perhaps the most surprising study out of this is that 54% of school shooters were found to have been bullied or harassed by other students rather than being the victim of bullying. This becomes apparent in the Columbine case. And for listeners that don't understand the Columbine case, it happened April 420, ironically, 1999. Columbine in Littleton, Colorado occurred when 2 teens went on a shooting spree, killing 13 people and wounding more than 20 others before turning the guns on themselves and committing suicide. Absolutely horrific. The first one that I want to ask you a question about, because I do want to get to a solution on this, because have you been bullied?
Oh yeah, that's why I left home. That's why I left Buffalo as soon as I could. Like, yeah.
You know,
even to this day, people are still bullies. That's why I don't post online. I got bullied online for donating a kidney. But let's go back to Columbine, because the reason they picked that date was not because of weed. It was because that's Hitler's birthday.
That's right.
And that's how evil those boys were. And it makes me sad. How did those boys get to that point? And it could have been prevented. I remember that day very clearly. It really chokes me up still to this day.
Yeah. I was, I want to say 6 or 7 at that time. And it was documentaries. You remember that year? It was a lot of documentaries out, and we watched all of them, and it had me very traumatic and terrified as a kid. It's one of the reasons why I fell into getting bullied because, before I transformed. So I got 6 simple solutions. I'll go through them quick so we can stay on time. The first one is, if you are being bullied, tell them to stop, get away from the situation, and tell a trusted adult. I can agree with that too. It does work. It's something I've done in my early child elementary days. I know you have as well. Once parents figure out that you're getting bullied, they take it very seriously, and schools do as well, unless it's a private school.
Yeah, they can do anything there.
Exactly. See? Okay, the other one is, if you see someone being bullied, be an upstander. Tell the person to stop, get a trusted adult, reach out and be friends. What's your thoughts on that?
You have to help your homies. Like, you have to support other people, and you can't just watch.
Yeah. It's something that is effective. I actually seen it at my daughter's school. A boy did something to my daughter that, like, he pulled down her pants. She gonna beat me up telling the story, but he pulled down her pants.
That happened to me in kindergarten.
That's when she was in pre-K. Pulled down her pants. I don't know. I guess that's like but my daughter, she's so in love with the world and people, very nice and sweet. So to her, she doesn't see it like that. And for me, I know what it is. Like, you trying to bully my daughter. This little 2-year-old boy, look at me.
And how did he get there, though? Like, what is happening at his house? I mean, nature versus nurture. He was either born evil, or his dad's beating him at home, or beating his mom in front of him. Bullies are a product of their environment. And, I mean, I feel for them and then I don't, because we know right from wrong.
I like how you put that. It's not even a 51-50 with that. It's just on a natural scale, 50-50. Like, you feel for him and you don't, because one of my bullies, his mom, he's just an only child. His mom killed herself. Dad's dead. So, he was wild. He was just an explosive person. He'll be your friend one day. You do something he doesn't like. He just ready to cut it off, beat you up, kill you. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. But that was a good point that you made. And a little bit of kanama. Nah, shout out to my homie Nate. We patched that up in our teenage years when things changed. With your children, listen and support your children. Work with the school and be sure your child is safe. I like that tip a lot. Like I said, schools are very supportive once you figure out that a bully is on campus and how to tackle that. I know you can agree as well.
You have to say something. If you are a parent, it is your job. You can't just let your kid fend for themselves when they're 5 years old.
But yeah, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. Okay, in your school, learn and help train all adults and youth on how to recognize and respond to bullying. I like that.
Communication is key.
Yeah, I like that. It needs to be a wide network around the communication on that. The wide network, not just cyberbullying, not because that's been a big vocal point, but physical one is still out here. It's the slightest thing. And I really want this situation to be taken seriously, because anybody could be bullied. I've been bullied, and I guarantee you, if you meet me and kick it with me outside of this podcast, you're going to understand that it's going to surprise you, the fact that I got bullied. But it's what made me become a great person and also, responsive on my toes with that stuff. I'm not going to get bullied again. I understand my worth now. I'm not going to get spit on. I've been spit on. I've been a few things just because of my skin color. And that's getting bullied for that is, yeah. Sorry.
It's stupid.
It's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid. Okay. With others who care, start a Not in Our School anti-bullying club where youth lead is in finding solutions. I like that. I feel like a lot more clubs are active nowadays in school than it was when I was in school. It wasn't that many clubs. It was very go ahead.
I think, too, that creates a community with kids to create their own environment by being active in stopping bullying. And, maybe they're friends with a kid and know them a little better, and they can step up, too. The kids are the ones that can change things. They, by working together and being activists, I fully believe in activism, by the way. And
Hello.
kids are amazing when you get them on something.
Oh, what? I seen this, okay. I'll save it for another show. Because you know what? Let's just get to this topic, okay? 5 solutions is good. Yeah, the last one, just to let listeners know, it's the same thing, but in different wording. But the weight of the title religion. What the title of that means is, I feel that people, so I've known people in my life, coming from the streets, I've known people in my life who were comfortable to talk about murder around me, but the second you talk about what you believe in, it's a very sensitive topic. And I mean, the topics that I talk about in that arena goes so wide outside, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you're more comfortable to talk about prostitution or versus what you believe in because you might be combative with the person who doesn't believe what you believe. I think that it shouldn't be a sensitive topic to talk about. I don't think that it should be an elephant in the room at all. I think if you have a choice to choose what you want to do for your world, why does that have to be sensitive and guarded? So, I'm sorry. I'm not over talk. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm on both sides of that because I grew up in an era where you don't talk politics or religion.
Me too.
Your friends are your friends. Doesn't matter who they voted for. And back then, nobody shouted all over fucking Facebook who they voted for. Yeah. So I feel like that stuff can be private on one end, but discussion is great because you might learn something or hear somebody's point of view. I'm a heathen. I have not believed in God since I was 9 years old.
Right.
But I will respect your religion.
Right.
Unless you're a Scientologist, then we're going to go.
Right.
But I just feel like people who don't want to talk of it, who might be in a bad way, don't want to talk about it because it makes them think about what they're doing and how their mom taking them to church when they were little, they're gone. Like they're going to hell in their mind. So maybe that's why they don't like talking about it and guard it close. I don't know. Maybe people, I don't know.
I got a couple. I got a couple reasons. I think why. I think the reason why it's so guarded is because there's a lot of. I mean, look at the past that comes with any religion when you put that title on you. Just look, it's all a horrific past, from murder to rape, to pillaging, to forcing, and I think that if you make the choice to accept the title of a religion, are you willing to accept the weight that comes with that?
Right.
And I think that's what makes people.
How do you explain all of that?
Right. Because, and it's no disrespect to, my mom is Muslim and my grandma is a Christian, a full-time Baptist Christian. They're in two completely different worlds, and how they believe and what they praise and how they interact in their religion is completely two different worlds. Completely two different worlds. But on one side, when you look at the past, my grandma got forced into Christianity. The Ku Klux Klan put a shotgun to her head when she was a kid in the 50s and said, "You're going to believe this." Versus my mom came from a time in the 80s and 90s where hip-hop was very Afrocentric. So she was always pushed towards being a Muslim because you've seen unks and rappers and, you know what I mean, KRS-One and them. I just know my mom's influences. And I just think that if you're going to accept that title, I think that you should know the weight that comes with it, because it could make you guarded when you go against a Catholic and you understand the history that comes with Catholics. And it's like, well, why are you a Catholic? Because I'm not going to, for listeners and stuff, and I'm not being disrespectful. That's why I'm not saying it too far, but it's dirty histories with things. And I think it's right. So can I share a story?
I feel badly for, well, I just want to say real quickly, I feel badly for Muslims who have so much stigma because of terrorists, the sect people, those fringe people. I know so many Muslim people who are so kind and gentle and loving, and they love everybody. There's just so much stigma. Keep going. Sorry.
Exactly. You starting to get what I'm saying, huh? It's a weight on it. And the reason what made me bring this up is because my close brother, he's jumped around religions like crazy. You know, he's done been a Christian to a Hebrew to an Israelite to a Jew to an atheist. Now he's back to a Christian. And so I had to ask him, I'm like, you know, because as an atheist, you know, you understand a lot more with manipulation of things, and you know what I'm saying, right? So I had to ask him,
Yeah.
I'm like,
He's lost.
fair, you know, and we're going to do it. Actually, I'm going to interview him soon so he could talk about his story with that. And I can't wait because
Send
it's,
it to me.
yes, because I don't want this to be a sensitive topic. And I had to ask him, I'm like, well, now that you know all this stuff, what made you want to accept the title of Christian? I just had to ask him that. And, you know, all in all, he couldn't answer the question, but I took the answer that it makes him happy. He was a very happy person back then when he was, you know, following the faith. And I just wanted him to understand that it's a lot of weight that comes with it that you know. And I'm really surprised to see how quick you jump back into it from going to a complete atheist. It just surprised me. So it made me want to talk about this subject. The statistic that I do have is the percentage of Americans without religious affliction, often labeled as nuns, is around 20 to 29%. But about 85% of the world's people identify with a religion. 85%.
Yeah. I mean, there's
And so I did ask him, and the most popular, you know, as we all know, of course, is going to be what my grandma believes. And so that's why I asked him that. I said, is it because you identify with people when you talk to them now? Because, I mean, 8 times out of 10, if you're talking to me, you, or relative, I'm not going to say, so you know what? I like the story about your kids, but what do you believe in? Like, I've never been, unless I was in a religious setting, I've never been asked what I believe on the street, just out on whim. I've never had that happen.
matter.
You know, that's the point I'm trying to make. When you respect, yeah, we'll get to that. So I got solutions. And I want to get your thought on it. So research thoroughly. You know, I think you should understand and overstand what you're getting into.
Yep. And the difference between, I've always taken philosophy of religion courses and learned all about different kinds of religions. If you're lost, learn about all of them and see which one calls to you.
I like that answer.
Like your friend.
I like that answer. He knows Hebrew. He knows an ancient language.
I'm Jewish by birth. I mean, I have Jewish blood in me. I'm Polish.
Right.
I did not learn Hebrew. I'm only 1%.
Girl, it blew me away. He knows an ancient language, like fluently.
That's really cool.
Super cool.
It's very sing-songy. It's a really cool language.
Yeah, I always go, I'll be trying to do it, but I can't do that. Understand the cultural influence it carries in your region is my second solution.
Yeah.
I think that's very important because you could be in the Middle East and you're a Christian, but in the Middle East, the only religion is being a Muslim. It's a very Muslimic country.
I'm not going to the Middle East. I don't even know if they would let me in the border.
Girl, I just found out that my next guest was locked in Dubai. National news right now, right? Was locked in Dubai because women don't have rights in Dubai. So she had a warrant for her arrest because she yelled at a man because he wouldn't give her back her wallet and when she got out of jail because she didn't have a driver's license on her physically. So they arrest you for that. It blew me away because the news, you know, lied to us. Yeah. Girl.
Well, look at all the women protesting headscarves. They shouldn't have to wear a headscarf. I don't care. Nobody should have to do that. It's hot there.
Yeah, hijabs, but it has so much, which is why I want it to be not a stigma around the conversation. My mom can explain why they do that in a more honorable way than what people think it is, you know? Like, same thing with my grandma, because she going to ride for her faith. I think the best way to explain it for me with them is my mom walks by sight and my grandma walks by faith. You know, my grandma could be dead broke and she'll believe that she's going to be okay. Where my mom has to see, I'm going to be okay. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
My third solution is respect everybody's views as mutual to your own.
I just think it's the human thing to do.
Right.
There's a lot of really radical stuff that we don't have to pay attention to, but I think that people just need to accept Nod, acknowledge, move on.
I feel like when the conversation opens the gates, people understand that there's way more similarities than what they, are separated with these physical barriers by and governmental barriers, that there's a lot more in common. It's all one. So my last solution is listen. I think if you listen very closely with two ears, not just one, you will get all these solutions and put them into one. Hello. Yes, Lord. So
listen without thinking of a comeback.
Right.
Just listen. Listen without thinking of a comeback.
Right.
Just listen.
One thing my brother said was he didn't want to keep bashing people for their beliefs. It's why he became a Christian, because he wanted to prove people wrong. It's why he became a Hebrew, to prove Christians wrong. Now he's an atheist trying to prove everybody wrong. He was just like, I just don't want to do that. I know. That's why I'm like, why are you even doing this to do that? That's my brother, though. That's why I can't wait to do the interview with him. You know what I mean? He could be a little silly sometime. I love you, Udi. But yeah. So I just think that listening, like you said, it does more, because you're not trying to take charge, like you said, and trying to correct somebody. It's like, oh, so that's why you move like that. That's why you guys do that. Well, in my side, we do this, and it's more of an understanding thing. If a Crip and a Blood nowadays can meet up with each other, why can't a Muslim and a Christian? Why can't a Catholic and a Buddhist? I just don't understand it. If a Crip and a Blood can link up today and talk about gang politics to each other and laugh and smoke, why can't they meet? Why can't they? Why can't we even talk about it? All right. Anyway.
Because they're not smoking.
Hello. Yo.
I watched Sons of Anarchy, and Sons of Anarchy is brutal, and it's all gangs. It's the blacks are the Niners, the Hispanics are, I don't even know, but they will get together and smoke and talk like it's no tomorrow, and then behead each other the next day.
Exactly my point. I think it could just be a lot different. So I'm gonna do my part to make sure that we soften the blow in those conversations. And I really appreciate you, Amy, for weighing in on that with me. That's not an easy one. And we're going to end topics and solutions with that. Amy Donohue, you did a great job on this episode. You did a great job.
Because you're hosting.
Mr. Wowzer. I always leave our listeners with something deep. I think about it on the freeway all the time here before I link up with you guys. And the one thing that hit me hard was understanding that some blessings are just for you. You can try to involve other people. You can try to involve your homies, close friends, family. But sometimes that door just open for you, and it's not for nobody else. Sometimes some blessings are only tailored to you. And it's something that I think I need to realize, everybody. I can be somebody that'll try to get somebody up while I'm down. We down together, but I really care more about him being up, because I'm going to be okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I also want you to remember that there's only one person with you from when you're born till you're dead, and that's you. You have to take care of you first.
Damn, that was well said. Damn, that was well said. You can't take care of your
daughter if you're not in a good headspace. Yeah. I mean, you have to think of number one, and it is not selfish. It is making sure that you're the best person for all the people around you.
Well said, Amy. Well said. And we're going to leave it on that note. Amy, you've been a great guest. Thank you for everything that you share with us. I want to send over our listeners again, positivity, peace, protection, and prosperity. I am your host, Mr. Wowzer, the Dodi Connection. We out. Right, Rod?
Just like to stick up on me, I'ma always be on your side. And you so sexy every time I see you, babe, it's on sight. So what you want to do, dinner anywhere, let's take a flight. Or we could do something different since we used to the high life. Favorite meal whipped in the kitchen, let's Netflix and get high. You feel me?
Thanks for listening to the Dodi Connection. Be sure to follow and subscribe whenever you listen to your podcasts. To read the blog associated with this episode, visit olismedia.com. This episode was produced in studios located in San Diego, California. Lena Alvarez is co-producer. Serving as executive producer and co-founder is JC Polk, and Chad Peace is president and co-founder. Olas Media is an IVC media company.
Olas Media.